On the A29B, the aircraft position is determined by a combined embedded global positioning, inertial reference system, and radar altimeter. On the real aircraft, the inertial platform requires 4 minutes to align, but this is currently not simulated. A separate standalone global positioning system, GPS, receiver, provides an additional level of redundancy for position information. On the real aircraft, the pilot inserts Ignition Start, a data transfer cartridge, DTC, which contains the flight plan and the data for the current weapons load. This step is not fully simulated, as on the sim the DTC information is automatically transferred to the flight management system after engine start. If the cockpit interior is too dark, activate the flashlight with left Alt plus L. If the yellow cross cursor is not visible, press left Alt plus left Shift plus C to make it appear. Also, you can press spacebar to cut short long texts, in case you are repeating the mission. The HUD is currently on declutter mode. As this mission is meant for the full HUD, let's change the HUD format. On the UFCP, click on 1, VV. The display will show the VV/VAH options. The options allow for 3 different HUD formats. VAH. The HUD includes velocity, altitude and heading scales, some people calls them ribbons. VV/VAH like VAH, but also shows the vertical velocity scale. Off. Declutters the HUD by hiding all analog scales, leaving only digital values for speed, heading and altitude, no indication for vertical velocity. This is the default HUD mode at start. The asterisks denote which is the current HUD format, off. Click on DCS down, to select VV/VAH. Good. Once you have VV/VAH enclosed with an asterisks, click on 0 to accept the format change. Click on DCS left to return to the UFCP main page. Before taking off, let's review the basic elements of the heads-up display. Adjust the view and zoom so that you can clearly see the HUD. The highlighted cross represents where the physical nose of the aircraft is pointing. The highlighted symbol is the flight path marker, FPM, and represents the point where the aircraft is actually going. At this moment, the FPM is hard to see, as it blends with the horizon line of the pitch ladder, and with a small X that shows up when the aircraft is stopped. On steady flight, the difference between the boresight cross and the FPM corresponds to the current angle of attack of the aircraft. Along the top of the HUD, is the heading scale. The numbers just below it, represent heading degrees, in tens, that is, 27 represents 270 degrees. The vertical line over the middle of the scale represents your current heading. The highlighted caret is a cue generated by the FMS, which indicates the heading you need to take in order to navigate towards the next waypoint of your route. Along the left side of the HUD is the velocity scale. The numbers to its left represent speed, in tens of knots, so 16 represents 160 nautical knots. The highlighted horizontal line on middle of the scale represents your current speed. Along the right side of the HUD is the altitude scale. The numbers just to its right represent altitude, in hundreds of feet. The highlighted horizontal line on the middle of the scale represents your current altitude. To the left of the altitude scale is a smaller vertical scale. It represents your vertical velocity, using a greater than caret. If the caret is over the highlighted line, you are ascending, below it you are descending. When you have the landing gear extended, the HUD displays a curved roll scale on its bottom, to facilitate performing standard turns on landings. The horizontal lines on the center of the HUD represent a pitch ladder, where you can visualize your current pitch attitude. Each line is 5 degrees apart. Solid lines represent positive pitch, while dashed lines correspond to negative pitch. The 0 degree, the warn sign, indicates that there are warning messages on the right MFD. This is a very important HUD data element. The number to the right of the greater than sign is the identification number of the next waypoint in our route, 01. The number to its left is the remaining distance to reach it, in nautical miles. This is an estimated time to reach the next waypoint, in minutes and seconds. As we are currently stopped, its value is the maximum of 99 minutes 59 seconds. The number inside the box is the current radar altitude above ground, in feet. It can only register up to a maximum of 5,000 feet. Above that altitude, you have to rely on the altitude scale, which shows barometric altitude. The R, to its left, is a reminder that this is a radar AGL altitude. The top highlighted value is the current G load on our aircraft. The bottom value is the maximum G load attained so far on this flight. The next number corresponds to the current speed expressed as a Mach fraction. The highlighted value is our current angle of attack, in degrees. We are now ready to take off. Let's do a short checklist. Confirm that there are no warnings on the right MFD. Auto rudder. Switch to its engaged position to enable the automatic rudder trim system to compensate the propeller torque during takeoff. Set the flaps to their down position, as we are carrying underwing stores on this mission. Set a pitch trim of 0.2 nose up, to have an easier takeoff. This completes the takeoff checklist. We are now ready for takeoff. Follow the usual procedure. Hold wheel brakes. Increase throttle to 90% and check instruments and alerts. If everything is well, release the brakes and accelerate to maximum RPM. Use nose wheel steering to maintain directional control and keep the aircraft on the runway's center line. At 105 knots, pull back on the control stick to raise the nose, and allow the aircraft to fly itself off the ground. Liftoff. We are now on the air. Use trim to maintain a steady climb. Once on the air, retract the landing gear with the G key, or by clicking the gear handle. You may now climb and accelerate to cruise speed. Your heading should be the one indicated by the highlighted caret. Climb speed 160 knots. Adjust pitch trim to attain a 10-degree angle on the HUD. Do this by placing the flight path marker, highlighted, over the 10-degree horizontal pitch line. Level out once you reach 8,000 feet ASL altitude. You have just passed 4,000 feet. Keep climbing at 10 degrees nose up, until you reach 8,000 feet. You have reached 8,000 feet. Now level out the aircraft, and increase the speed to cruise at 200 knots. Use the trim buttons to attain a stable and level flight, so that we can study the navigation pages on the MFD. Unfortunately, the autopilot of the A29 is not implemented yet. The small diamond shown on the HUD is a representation of the waypoint location on 3D space. Place the flight path marker over this diamond in order to head towards it. Now that you are in stable and level flight, let's learn how to use the navigation pages of the MFD. We will use the right MFD, which currently is displaying the engine indicating and crew alerting system page, ICAS. Press the adjacent button of the already selected ICAS that we've highlighted. This will take us to the MFD main menu. Most of the main menu pages are not implemented yet. The bottom line of the MFD always show buttons for the most used pages, so you can go straight from one, say from ICAS, to the other, Nav, without going through this main menu. Now press the button beside Nav, the navigation page will show. The Nav page has several subpages. The current one is the aircraft page. You can tell this because A/C is boxed. On this page, you can see the current position, latitude and longitude, ground speed, GS, true airspeed, DAS, main heading, track, and wind data, the latter, not simulated yet. Select FYT, fly to point, which on this aircraft means waypoint, by clicking on its adjacent button. Now we are on the waypoints page, which shows detailed data for each waypoint that is stored on the Flight Management Systems database. Currently the page shows data for the first waypoint, FT1, which includes its 3D coordinates, latitude, longitude and elevation. Note that the coordinates are in degrees and decimal minutes, not minutes and seconds. The TOFT is the planned time over waypoint. Also displayed is the data for any offset aiming point, OAP, associated with this waypoint. The OAP are used during weapons delivery. The highlighted buttons allow you to page trough the waypoint list. Try them now. Note that there is an FT0, which corresponds to our origin airbase. The FT90 to FT99 corresponds to nearby airbases. Also, note that the HUD and the upfront control panel update when you select a new waypoint. In effect, the waypoint being shown on the FYT page is the active next waypoint for our navigation. Because of this, please leave the page showing FT1 in order to not disrupt our navigation. Select now the route page, by clicking on the highlighted button. On the route page, you get a summary list of the waypoints that form our flight plan. Select now the airfields page, by clicking on the highlighted button. On the airfields page, you can see the list of nearby airbases. Unfortunately, the names of the airfields are highly abbreviated, and the distance to each is not shown. Leave the MFD displaying the FYT page, and make sure that the selected FT is the one we are headed to. Good, keep flying towards waypoint 1. On the HUD, you can check the distance towards the waypoint and how long it will take us to arrive there. You have almost reached the waypoint 02. Same as before, the FMS will automatically advance onto the next waypoint. When the heading caret moves to the left, turn the aircraft to the new Q heading. The Flight Management System, FMS, automatically selected waypoint 3 after we reached waypoint 2. Let's alter the sequence and skip waypoint 3. Use what you have learned so far and employ the UFCP to select waypoint 4 as our next waypoint. Once the UFCP displays Auto 4, turn to the right and use the heading caret on the HUD to navigate towards waypoint 4. So far, whenever we reach a waypoint, we have let the FMS to automatically advance from one waypoint onto the next. This is not appropriate when a waypoint is a target or patrol point, so we will learn how to change from auto to manual, so that the current waypoint doesn't change when we reach it. First, click on Data Control Switch, DCS, right, to display the UFC menu. Next, click on the digit 4, to choose Nav from the UFCP menu. Nav has two subpages. We are currently on the Nav mode subpage. If you click DCS right again, the display will change to the second page, Nav Miscellaneous, which is still work in progress. Click DCS right once again and you will be back at Nav mode. The Nav Mode page allows us to change two navigation options. Waypoint Advance can be set to auto or manual. Waypoint Time can be set to time to go, TTG, direct time, DT, or estimated time of arrival, ETA. The asterisk denote which is the currently selected option. You move the selection asterisks with DCS up or DCS down clicks. Click DCS down until the asterisks are at auto. Now that auto is the selected option, you can change its value with DCS right. Try it, the option now will be manual instead of auto. There is no need to press enter to save the selection, as the change is instantaneous. If it was unintended, just press DCS right again and the option will be back at auto. As this is just an exercise, leave it in auto, with DCS right. To finish, press DCS left to return to the Sienna main page. Make sure that the display begins with Auto 4 rather than Man 4, in order to not disrupt this mission's navigation. You have almost reached the waypoint 04. The FMS will automatically advance onto the next waypoint. Turn the aircraft to the new heading indicated by the heading caret. Note that waypoint 5 is at a lower altitude, 3,000 feet rather than the 8,000 we have been maintaining so far. Initiate a shallow descent by placing the flight path marker over the waypoint diamond. We can use the UFCP to add additional waypoints to our flight plan. Waypoints can only be added at the end of the current ones, so if our flight plan includes waypoints 00 through 06, then we can insert new waypoints only starting at 07. As an exercise, let's add a waypoint set at the town of Anapskaya. Its coordinates are 44 degrees, 54.15 minutes north, and 37 degrees, 21.96 minutes east. Note that the UFCP uses decimal minutes, rather than minutes and seconds. To begin, just press the 4 key on the UFCP for waypoint. The UFCP display will show detailed data for each waypoint, beginning with waypoint 0. The up-down arrow symbol next to the waypoint means we can now use the rocker DED switch to browse the waypoints list. As you browse the waypoint list, you will note that waypoint 07 is available, as all its data is 0. We will use this waypoint position to enter the data of our new waypoint, effectively turning FYD07 part of our flight plan. Use DCS down to move the asterisks to the first field, latitude. We will now enter the latitude. But first, we must input either a 2 for north, or an 8 for south. For 44 degrees, 54.15 minutes north, press 2. Note that the field is automatically highlighted. Now, continue entering the value, clicking on 4, 4, 5, 4, 1, and 5. If you make a mistake, press the clear button and start again. Press the enter key once you have entered the value. The latitude will be accepted, and the asterisks will advance to the next field. The longitude is entered on the same way, but first we must input either a 6 for west, or a 4 for east. For 37 degrees, 21.96 minutes east, press 4. Note that the field is automatically highlighted. Now, continue entering the value, but beware that the degrees must be 3 digits long, so leading zeros may be needed. Click on 0, 3, 7, 2, 1, 9, and 6. If you make a mistake, press the clear key and start again. Press the enter key once you have entered the value. The longitude will be accepted and the asterisks will advance to the next field. For this new waypoint, we will use its ground elevation, which is 246 feet. Click on 2, 4, and 6. No leading zeros are needed on this case. Press the enter button to have the system accept the field value. You can now input a desired time to reach the waypoint. DOFT means time over waypoint. For this example, we will leave it at 0. Press the enter button to have the system accept the field value. Let's confirm the new flight plan. On the right MFD, select the nav page. Now, select the route subpage. The flight plan should now include this new waypoint at the end of the list. Once checked, on the UFCP press DCS left, to return to its Sienna main page. Note that the new waypoint has not been made current, we are still navigating towards our previous waypoint. Good, now continue descending towards waypoint 5. Remember to keep the flight path marker over the waypoint diamond. have almost reached the waypoint 05. Same as before, the flight management system will automatically advance onto the next waypoint. When the heading caret moves to the left, turn the aircraft to the new Q heading. have almost reached the waypoint 01. The FMS will automatically advance onto the next waypoint. When the heading caret moves to the left, turn the aircraft to the new Q heading. Earlier we saw how the HUD, the UFCP, upfront control panel, and the nav page on the MFD, are linked to show waypoint navigation data. We will now review the UFCP more closely. Currently, the UFCP display is showing its communications, navigation and information main page, CNI. Its first line should begin with Auto 2, which means that our current waypoint is FD2, and that it will advance automatically to the next waypoint once the current one is reached. If somehow the UFCP is not displaying its CNI main page, click on the left side of the data control switch, DCS. This position of the four-way switch is named Return, and should take you to the CNI main page. Beside the Auto 2 field, there is a symbol depicting an up/down arrow. This means that the field value can be sequentially increased or decreased using the DED, Data Entry Display, Increment/Decrement rocker switch. Try it, click on both sides of the rocker switch and see how the current waypoint changes accordingly. In order to not mess up our navigation, please leave it on Auto 2 when finished. So, that's how you can quickly change the current waypoint using the UFCP. Later on this flight, we will see how you can add new waypoints to our route, using the UFCP. Now, keep flying towards waypoint 2, maintaining level flight at 8,000 feet and a speed of 200 knots. almost reached the waypoint 03. The FMS will automatically advance onto the next waypoint. When the heading caret moves to the right, turn the aircraft to the new heading.